If you're a restaurant owner and you're considering franchising your restaurant, today we're going to talk about should you franchise and the steps involved to franchising. I'd be remiss if I didn't start off by discussing current circumstances. As I'm doing this video, it's April 2020, and naturally, not only our nation, but restaurants across the country are being impacted by COVID-19. And we've seen the impact on many of our clients. Some who've had to completely shut down operations, and others who are delivery-driven, takeout-driven restaurant models potentially doing well in this crisis. For sure, it's a crisis for our nation. It's a challenge for restaurants, and so I hope your restaurant is doing well. And I hope the reason you're watching this video is because you're ready to recover and grow, and there's opportunity ahead. And certainly, over the next couple of years, with crisis will come opportunity. We're going to see opportunity in terms of financing, availability as to restaurant space, rent, and labor. So there are some positives. We're discussing a lot of this in our mastermind community. So if you visit Facebook, you could visit our Facebook mastermind community. But now getting into the heart, should you franchise your restaurant? Well, there's three typical methods for expansion. One is organic, self-funded expansion. Two is a hybrid. It's self-funded expansion, but with capital from investors or private equity groups. And there's plenty of restaurants that have done well with that model. And the third and most popular for multi-unit expansion is franchising. The benefit with franchising being you achieve multi-unit expansion, you qualify franchisees who invest their startup capital and then run their operations. And in an ideal world, you have well-capitalized multi-unit franchisees. So if franchising is the vehicle you're looking at, well, I mean, it's been the most popular model for multi-unit expansion in the restaurant industry, and it's going to remain that way. So when you decide if you should franchise, really comes down to, as a founder and leader, is that part of your goals? Do you want to achieve multi-unit expansion over a period of 1, 2, 3, 5 years? Are you ready to build an organization that's built around supporting franchisees, selling franchises, and creating added value relationships with vendors, right? So it's really a mindset and a goal. So those are some of the factors you need to evaluate if you should franchise. Others include whether or not your business model, your restaurant can be replicated. I get that almost every restaurant sort of can be replicated, but is there some efficiency in your systems, in your supply chain, in the products and services that you offer? And is there an ability to teach franchisees so you maintain quality? Those are critical factors. So mindset as a founder and management team, replication of your brand, training, supply chain, consistency of product. So those are factors you should be considering about if you should franchise. And we have a whole guide on this and some other videos we'll link to at the end of this video. Let's assume that you are interested, you should franchise. What are the steps involved? Well, the steps involved in franchising a restaurant are the same involved for franchising any business. And we have our ultimate guide, but here I'm going to talk about the steps and maybe some of the nuances. Going through those steps, step 1 is preparing your franchise disclosure document. 2, preparing your franchise operations manual. 3, protecting your intellectual property. 4, establishing a new franchising company. 5, issuing and registering your franchise offering. 6 is developing a franchise sales strategy. And 7 is developing a franchise plan and budget. And we're going to briefly discuss each of these. When people talk about franchising their business, the main step involved is preparing a franchise disclosure document. It's called an FDD. It's a legal prospectus, and it's required by federal law and state law. Basically, before you can offer or sell a restaurant franchise to a prospective franchisee, you need to give them this prospectus that discloses information about your franchise offering, who you are, what the estimated investment is, legal relationship, the franchisee's obligations, your supply chain, financial statements of your new franchise company, something we'll discuss in a couple of steps, the whole underpinnings of what it's going to mean to be a franchisor and franchisee. So that's your FDD. It needs to be issued. It needs to be prepared. When we're working with brands, development of the FDD takes about 90 days. We start with a brand assessment of your restaurant, what your business is all about, your brand. We then prepare a competitive evaluation. What competitors in different space of the restaurant industry, what do their territories look like? What do their royalty structures look like? What's the opportunity for multi-unit expansion? All things that'll be discussed in the FDD development process, which involves, on our end, a combination of legal representation plus franchise development know-how. Because what you want is when you're ready to sell franchises, you want to make sure it's competitively positioned, received well by the broker community, and it's built to win over time. So step 1 is preparing your franchise disclosure document. Step 2, again, this all happens simultaneously. So while we're preparing your franchise disclosure document, we need to prepare your franchise operations manual. Half our clients prepare their own, the other half ask us to bring in a team that works with us to develop your manual. And what is it? Well, once someone signs a franchise agreement and they become your franchisee, you're going to provide them with your manual. Years ago, it used to be a printed manual. Today, most likely, it's going to be an online manual with videos. It's going to discuss a host of things. Development of your restaurant, standards and specifications for equipment, furniture and fixtures, development, your pre-training process, your menu recipes and standards, who your approved suppliers and vendors are, marketing, and operations, front of the house, back of the house, point of sale systems. All these things are going to be in your operations manual, which is your how-to guide for your franchisees. One key to remember here is this. Your operations manual is going to evolve over time. What it looks like when you launch your franchise and in year 1 is going to be different in year 2 and in year 3. It's going to evolve over time as your standards and specifications change, your training changes. But just keep in mind, it's going to be a fluid document. It's going to be something that you're going to modify over time. And if it's done the right way, it should be a real part of your organization. It should be training modules and videos, all these great things that are going to help your franchisees succeed. It's a big task, but just know it's not done overnight. You'll have your initial operations manual, and then over time, you're going to keep improving it. Step 3 is we're working through the process. We need to make sure your intellectual property is protected. What this really means is the name of your business, the trademark of your business, how you identify your restaurant, that trademark and that logo is registered with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And maybe even some menu items. Unique menu items have unique names. They may be registered as trademarks. Why? Well, when we franchise, one of the biggest assets we're conveying to franchisees is a license to use our trademarks. So we want to make sure they're protected. Certainly we want to make sure they don't open up in a new state and have a claim that someone else says that they own the mark or that there's a conflict. So as we're developing your FDD, as we're developing your franchise operations manual, we're going to be going through your trademarks and your logos, preparing United States Patent and Trademark Office applications for registration. If you already have registrations, then we're going to be reviewing those. So third step is protecting your intellectual property. Step 4, as we go through the process, is we're going to set up a new franchise company. So right now, I'm sure you have a company or multiple companies that own your restaurants and operate your restaurants. Those companies are going to remain. We're going to want to set up a brand new company. Let's call it XYZ Restaurant Franchising LLC. Why? Well, because this new company is going to be the franchisor. It's going to be distinct from your restaurant operations. Over time, it's going to be a completely different business. It's going to sell franchises, support franchisees. It's going to receive income in the form of initial franchise fees and ongoing royalties. It's going to have expenses related to franchise sales, franchisee support. So as we go through your franchise development process, we're going to be speaking with your accountant to set up your corporate entity. This will become your brand new franchise company. Now, in the franchise world, your franchise offering, your FDD, needs to include financial statements of your franchise company. So one question comes up often is, do I have to give the financial statements of my existing restaurant? And the answer is no. We're going to be setting up a brand new company, so you're going to have brand new, fresh financial statements. And in year one, it's not going to show much. It's going to show we set up a company, you deposited money into a bank account to fund the company, whether it's $5,000 or $150,000, whatever it is, and that's going to be your initial assets for your new franchise company. Step 5. As we go through this 3-month process of developing your FDD, internally what we do is we have weekly development meetings with our clients. We go through each phase of the process, from brand positioning, what your concept's all about, what our fee structures would be, your initial franchise fee, your ongoing royalty fees, how do we disclose your supply chain, legal obligations, single unit sales, multi-unit sales, what type of territories we grant franchisees, and really how to position the brand to succeed. That's all incorporated into the FDD development process. When we're done with that, meaning we've prepared your franchise disclosure document, your franchise offering, it complies with the federal franchise laws, and it complies with state-specific laws. So here you need to recognize there's multiple levels of law, federal and state. And certain states like New York, California, Illinois, Washington, Maryland, Virginia, Hawaii, they are known as franchise registration states. They have specific requirements we also need to comply with. And so when we prepare your FDD, it's done as a multi-state compliant FDD, meaning we prepare it to comply at the federal level and at the state level. So step 5 is finalizing and issuing your FDD. Now, issuance just means, as your lawyers, we certify that your FDD is ready to go, complies with federal law, state law. Now, in those states I mentioned earlier, New York, California, Illinois, Hawaii, Washington, those states are called franchise registration states. In those states, before we could start offering or selling our franchises, we need to file our FDD and obtain registration. So step 5, we issue the FDD and we register it. Step 6, this is something people overlook all the time, especially in the development stage. You'll develop your franchise offering, you'll have your FDD, you'll speak with your lawyers, your franchise lawyers, but no one's giving thought to what the sales strategy is. Or if they do, it becomes like an afterthought. And what happens is you just waste money. I've seen startup brands issue their FDD, start wasting money on franchise portals or pay-per-click ads. And the reality is they're not ready for that marketing spend because you need your brand to season. Even if you had $1 million to spend on marketing in year 1, I tell you, don't spend it. Don't even come close to spending it. You need to season your brand. As we go through the process, we have some really great webinars and we're going to make some introductions. My advice is let's focus on the positioning of your brand, meaning what is the value proposition you're offering as a new franchise company to your future franchisees. It's not just, hey, we give training or we have a cool logo or our food's really good, but it's we offer our franchisees the opportunity to transform their lives. And here's how we do it. So you need to focus on the positioning of your brand. In year 1, I would tell you focus on your organic leads, people that know your brand, people that know your restaurant. Focus on those organic leads. And the reason why is you find qualified franchisees. In the franchise world, your first 10 franchisees are going to be so critical to the future of your business. If your first group of franchisees do well and are profitable, they're going to serve as future validation for you. Meaning when prospective franchisees come, your existing franchisees will validate and help you sell. If your initial group of franchisees do not do well, you won't have validation. You're going to have a hard time selling franchises. So this sales strategy, my recommendation, focus on your brand story, focus on organic leads, engage limited public relations that'll start your storytelling process, what your team's about, why your company was founded, how you transform the lives of your customers and your future franchisees. That limited PR is going to serve as a great form of validation and help you sell franchises. Those are key items. Step 7, develop a franchise plan and budget. It may not work out perfectly. It's probably going to have to change over time, but let's focus on what does your franchise sales strategy and budget look like in year 1, 2, 3, and 4. With franchising, it's a long-term proposition. You don't win on day 1. You need to be committed to it. Look at it as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-year plan. Year 1, you launch your FDD. You focus on your organic reach. You focus on telling your brand story. Year 2, you start ramping up relationships with brokers. You start working different mediums, whether it's different digital media outlets or channels of communication, attending broker conferences, considering trade shows, supporting your initial group of franchisees. Year 3, that's the year when you really want to focus on acceleration. By now, you should have had franchisees that are doing well. They're going to validate, they're going to help you grow, they're going to attract broker interest, and they're going to help you close deals. Year 4, year 5, those are years you really want to hit. The goal is to hit 50 units, which is not easy. But once you do, you reach an inflection point where you could achieve some good growth. So summarizing the steps to franchising your restaurant. Step 1, preparing your franchise disclosure document. That's your FDD. 2, preparing your operations manual. 3, protecting your trademarks and your logo and your intellectual property. 4, establishing your new franchise company. 5, issuing and registering your FDD. 6, developing your franchise sales strategy. 7, developing a franchise plan and budget. How do you get started? Well, get information. The key is to learn franchising. We have some amazing resources on the Learn Franchising section of our website. Really good webinars. Keep in mind, a lot of the webinars are based on year 2 and year 3 concepts, and that's okay. What they will help you do is understand next steps and provide you with a framework. Also, attend franchise shows. And if you reach out to our team, we'll let you know what shows are happening. We have a great Franchise Growth Mastermind community. So if you go to Facebook and you go to Franchise Growth Mastermind, join our free Facebook community. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our team. And good luck over the next couple of years as you grow your restaurant.